Episode 1. The door appears. You don't forget the sound a house makes when it breathes at night. The creak of wood as if bones are shifting. The groan of pipes like something whispering beneath the floorboards. I thought I knew every sigh of that abandoned house at the edge of town. I had been exploring it for weeks, sneaking in after dark, convincing myself I wasn't afraid. But that night, God help me, that night the house exhaled something new. It was a thud, a hollow one, like a door closing where no door had ever been. My flashlight flickered, caught on peeling wallpaper, and that's when I saw it. A seam where there had never been one. A rectangle carved into the far wall, perfectly straight, perfectly wrong. I knew the layout of that room. There had never been an exit there. Yet the outline pulsed as if it wanted me to notice. I should have run. Instead, I touched the handle. Cold. Too cold for wood or brass, like holding the skin of something long dead. When I pulled it open, the air didn't smell of dust or mold. It smelled of smoke. And outside wasn't a hallway, it was a street. My street, but not as I remembered it. The houses were the same shapes, but older, their paint fresher, their windows glowing with warm light instead of shattered emptiness. And the people, God, the people. Men in coats too heavy for summer, women clutching bags that looked like museum pieces. No one glanced at me as I stepped onto the pavement, barefoot and trembling, as if I didn't exist at all. I stumbled past them, searching for something familiar, and then I saw it. The house I grew up in, but newer, alive. Curtains drawn, chimney smoking. My heart hammered as I crossed the street and pressed myself against the window. Inside, I saw a family at dinner. My family. But there was something wrong. At the head of the table where my father should have been, there was another man, strange, unfamiliar. And sitting at the far end was me, a younger me. Fork in hand, face flushed with laughter. I choked on the air. My knuckles whitened on the glass. I wanted to scream, to burst in and drag that other version of myself into the night. But when I raised my fist, the door slammed shut behind me. I turned. It stood alone in the middle of the street now, glowing faintly like an ember in the dark. And for the first time, the people around me looked at me, all at once. Every face turned, mouths closing, eyes hollow. A woman whispered, though her lips didn't move, "You don't belong to this year." The world began to blur, houses bending, air folding in on itself. I stumbled back through the door, gasping, collapsing onto the rotting floorboards of the abandoned house. But the door didn't vanish this time. It waited in the wall, silent, patient. And I knew I wasn't done with it. Episode 2. The Year of Blood. You'd think I would have learned that after the first time I would have sealed the house, boarded the windows, burned the floorboards if I had to. But curiosity is stronger than fear. And the door, it pulsed in the dark like a heartbeat, whispering that I hadn't seen the worst yet. That night I turned the handle again. The smell hit me first. Iron. Thick, metallic, clinging to my tongue before I even stepped through. Then the sound. Not wind, not traffic, but the wet, muffled sobs of a crowd too tired to cry out any louder. I stepped into a street I half recognized. Same crooked lamppost, same fountain in the square. But the year was wrong. The banners told me so. Faded cloth strung across the buildings, marked with symbols I didn't understand, written in a language I should have known, but didn't. And everywhere the blood. It ran between the cobblestones, dark and slow, like the veins of the earth had opened. People shuffled barefoot through it, their ankles stained red. Their faces were pale, hollow. And then I saw them, rows of bodies, stacked along the square, covered with sheets that barely hid their shapes. Too many. Far too many. A man in rags brushed past me, muttering words like a prayer. Another year of cleansing. Another year. I wanted to ask him what he meant, but when I turned, his eyes were bleeding, thin rivulets like tears of rust. I staggered back, heart pounding, and that's when I heard it, a voice calling my name. I froze, because no one here should have known it. I followed the sound through the crowd, through the stench, until I saw her, my grandmother. Except, she'd died when I was a boy. Yet here she was, younger than I'd ever remembered, standing barefoot in the blood-soaked street. She didn't look surprised to see me. She looked furious. "You should not be here," she hissed. "Not in this year." Her hands clamped onto my shoulders, strong enough to bruise. Her eyes darted to the door still waiting in the distance, glowing faintly behind me. "You opened it too soon." You'll bring it forward. I tried to speak, but the crowd turned as one, their bleeding eyes fixed on me now. The sheets covering the bodies began to twitch, one by one. The dead sat up, stiff and wrong, their heads jerking toward me. The blood around my feet began to move, not flowing but reaching, curling around my ankles like hands dragging me down. My grandmother shoved me hard toward the door. "Run!" I stumbled, half falling, half drowning in the rising river of blood. The whispers grew louder, my name repeated in every voice, until I threw myself through the door and slammed it behind me. I landed back in the abandoned house, chest heaving, the taste of iron still thick in my mouth. The door was silent now, but I knew the truth. It wasn't showing me random years. It was dragging me into the years my family had tried to bury, and the blood was only the beginning. Episode 3, The Child Who Shouldn't Exist. I told myself I wouldn't touch it again. After the blood, after my grandmother's voice hissing warnings from a year she should never have lived in, I promised myself I'd walk away. But promises don't mean much when the door keeps breathing in the dark, when every pulse of its frame feels like it's synced with your heart. So yes, I opened it again. This time it didn't smell of iron or smoke. It smelled sweet, like apples left too long in the sun, rotting beneath their own skin. The air was warmer too, and when I stepped through, I found myself in a quiet street. My street. Familiar, almost comforting, until I saw the calendar nailed to the wall of a corner store. The year was wrong again, years before I was even born. Children ran past me, laughing, their shadows long under a fading orange sky. And then I froze, because one of them stopped mid-run, turned, and stared directly at me. The boy looked no older than 8. His hair was a mess, his knees scraped raw from play. But the face was mine. Not just similar, not just family resemblance, it was me. He tilted his head, curiosity sharp in his eyes, then whispered something I shouldn't have been able to hear from that distance. But I heard it as clearly as if he'd breathed it against my ear. "You shouldn't be here." I backed away, pulse hammering, but the boy followed step for step, never blinking. Other children laughed and pulled at his arms, trying to drag him back into their game, but he never looked away from me, not once. "Who are you?" I managed to choke out. He smiled, my smile, twisted. "I'm what you left behind." The air around him shimmered, the laughter of the other kids cracking, stretching into something hollow and wrong. Their faces blurred, their eyes melting into empty sockets. The boy, though, my other self, only grew sharper, clearer, like he was becoming more real the longer I looked. "I don't belong to this year," I whispered. He shook his head slowly. "No, I don't belong to yours." And then he ran. Not away from me, but toward the door, my door. His small hands slammed against the wood and I felt it tremble, as if it wanted him more than it wanted me. I sprinted, shoving past the blurred, eyeless children, reaching him just as the door creaked open. On the other side wasn't the abandoned house. It wasn't my time. It was black, a void, endless and silent, hungry. The boy turned to me, grinning wide, too wide. "There isn't room for both of us." His hand shot out, gripping mine with impossible strength, dragging me toward the dark. For a moment, my foot slipped across the threshold, cold nothingness gnawing at my skin. And then, with every ounce of strength I had, I tore away and slammed the door shut. Back in the abandoned house, I collapsed, shaking, staring at the wood as it pulsed faintly like a vein. I knew what it meant now. The door didn't just lead to different years. It led to different versions of me. And one of them wanted my place. Episode 4, The Year They Forgot Me. I thought I understood the danger. The blood-soaked streets, the child who wore my face. Each year was a wound I wasn't meant to touch, but I was wrong. The true horror wasn't in what I saw, it was in what I lost. The door was waiting again, humming like a throat ready to whisper. I told myself I'd open it just once more, that maybe I could control it this time. A lie. Still, I turned the handle. When I stepped through, I didn't notice anything different at first. Same cracked sidewalk, same pale moonlight bleeding across the rooftops. It felt normal, familiar. I thought maybe, finally, the door had given me my own year back. But then I saw my house. The windows glowed warm, voices murmured inside. My family, my friends. Relief almost broke me in half. I staggered up the steps and opened the door, ready to collapse into the only safety I knew. They were all there, sitting around the living room, laughing, drinking, telling stories I half remembered. My mother on the couch, my best friend at the kitchen table, even my younger brother sprawled on the rug, video game controller in hand. But when I stepped in, not one of them looked up. "Hey," I said, voice trembling, "it's me." Nothing. I moved closer, waved a hand, even shouted their names. They didn't flinch. My mother walked right past me, brushing against my shoulder without feeling it. My friend poured himself a drink, glass sliding through my hand as if I weren't there. And then the worst part, I saw a photograph on the wall, a family portrait. Everyone was there, everyone except me. My chest caved in. I ripped picture frames from the walls, flipping through albums on the coffee table, page after page. Every memory had been rewritten without me. Birthdays, holidays, graduations, like I had never existed at all. I stumbled into the kitchen mirror. My reflection wasn't there, only the room behind me. That's when I heard the laughter. Not theirs, mine. It came from upstairs, light and cruel. I ran, 2 steps at a time, until I reached my bedroom door. It was closed. A voice inside whispered, "They don't need you anymore." I pushed it open. The room was the same posters, same bed, same clutter on the desk. But sitting on the bed was someone else. Not the child version I'd seen before, not a stranger. Me, the me who belonged here, the me who had never been erased. He looked up, calm, almost pitying. "You were never supposed to come back," he said. "This year doesn't remember you because I took your place." I couldn't breathe. My throat locked as I stepped backward, desperate to run. The door behind me pulsed open on its own, as if it had been listening, waiting. And for the first time, I didn't choose to go back. It pulled me, spitting me onto the rotting floorboards of the abandoned house. The door shut quietly, and the silence told me one thing. One of these years, it's not going to let me come back at all. Episode 5, The Funeral Before Birth. There are moments when you think you've already reached the deepest layer of fear, but the door has a way of proving you wrong. For days I tried to resist it. I stayed away from the abandoned house, but at night I could hear it. Not in my dreams, through the walls of my own home. A faint creak, a steady pulse, like the heartbeat of a predator waiting for me to step closer. And eventually, I did. The handle was warm this time, almost inviting. When I opened it, I expected blood, or shadows, or another version of myself. Instead, I heard church bells. They echoed across a gray sky, heavy and mournful, pulling me forward into a small cemetery. Rows of headstones glistened under a thin drizzle. Black-clad figures gathered around a freshly dug grave. I felt my stomach twist. I knew this place. I had walked past it hundreds of times as a child, but this wasn't my memory. It was older. The cars were wrong, the clothes dated, the air itself heavy with another decade. Still, curiosity dragged me closer. I wove through the mourners, invisible as always, until I reached the casket lowered into the ground. The priest's words blurred in my ears, drowned by the pounding of my own heart. Then I saw the name carved into the headstone. My name. Not the name of my father or grandfather. My name. Date of death, years before I was born. The world tilted beneath me. I stared, lips numb, whispering, No, that's not possible." And then the casket creaked. The mourners didn't flinch. They kept their heads bowed as the lid shifted, splintered, and slowly opened from within. I couldn't stop myself. I looked. Inside lay a body. My body. Pale, lips blue, eyes closed, but younger. As if this version of me had died before ever having a chance to live. Its eyes snapped open. The corpse me sat up, head jerking, bones cracking as it turned toward me. Its voice was a rasp, but the words cut through the rain like a knife. "You were never meant to be born." I staggered back, colliding with the mourners. Only then did I see their faces. They weren't strangers. They were all my family, my mother, my father, even my brother, but older, with lines carved deep by grief. They looked right through me, tears streaming as they whispered prayers for the son, the brother who had died before his first breath. And yet, here I was, alive. Or at least I thought I was. The corpse me crawled out of the casket, mud clinging to its hands, eyes burning with a hunger that made my stomach turn. It pointed at me, grinning with teeth too sharp, too wrong. "This year is mine. You stole it." The ground split beneath me. dirt collapsing, pulling me down with the grave. I screamed, reaching for anything until the door burst open behind me, dragging me back into the abandoned house. I hit the floor, soaked in rain that didn't belong to my world. The door closed softly, like a sigh, and I realized the truth. The years weren't just showing me horrors. They were showing me the funeral of my existence. Episode 6, The Betrayal Year. By now I should have known better. Every turn of the handle, every step across the threshold carved a deeper wound in me, and yet the door had me hooked like an addict. It wasn't curiosity anymore. It was compulsion. The years behind it whispered, and I couldn't stop listening. This time when I opened it, the air was sharp with winter. Frost coated the windows of a familiar street, but the snow wasn't new. It was memory. My memory. I knew this night. I knew this year. It was the night my best friend swore he'd keep my secret. The night I thought loyalty meant something unbreakable. I stumbled forward, heart racing. I saw us, two younger versions of ourselves, huddled behind a church wall, breath steaming in the cold. My younger self was trembling, confiding a truth so heavy I'd never spoken it aloud again. A mistake I had made, a sin I had buried, and my friend's hand was on my shoulder, steady, promising, "I'll never tell." But then the scene shifted. I followed him down the street, through the square, into a warm tavern filled with smoke and laughter. And there, at the table with strangers, he was. My friend, laughing, drinking, whispering my secret into eager ears. The words dropped like poison. I heard them all, clear as if they were branded on my skin. Shame, betrayal. The kind of wound that doesn't bleed but rots. I wanted to scream at him, to tear the truth from his throat, but the younger me wasn't there to hear it. Only I could. Only the me who had lived believing that promise had been kept. The tavern went quiet. Every head turned toward me. Not the younger me, the present me, the intruder. Their eyes were full of disgust, fingers pointed. Voices rose, spitting accusations I thought had been buried forever. Liar. Thief. Traitor. I backed away, breath ragged, but my friend, that friend, stood, his smile twisting into something cruel. His voice was no longer his own. You were betrayed because you deserved it. The room closed in. The walls stretched, wood bending like it was alive. Faces blurred into masks of hate, pressing closer, chanting my secret until it wasn't secret anymore. And then I saw him, another version of me, standing in the corner, watching. He looked older, broken, skin pale as wax. He leaned close and whispered, "You gave them the knife. Don't be surprised they used it." The door flared open, pulsing red like a wound. The accusations swelled, deafening, until I threw myself back through, gasping, collapsing onto the splintered floorboards of the abandoned house. Silence. But my heart wasn't silent. It thundered, because I knew what the door had just shown me. Betrayal isn't just something others do to you. It's something you let happen. And the worst part? The door hadn't finished showing me the knives waiting in my past. Episode 7, The Year Without Sun. There's a kind of darkness that isn't just the absence of light. It's heavier, thicker, like a presence pressing against your skin, trying to crawl inside. That's what waited for me when I opened the door again. The first thing I noticed was the silence. No birds, no wind, no footsteps in the street. Just silence so complete it made my own heartbeat sound like thunder. Then I looked up. The sky was wrong. It wasn't night. It wasn't day. It was red. A low, throbbing crimson stretched from horizon to horizon, as if the sun had bled out across the heavens and left the world in its death shroud. The town lay beneath it, the same streets I thought I knew, but swallowed by shadow. Houses sagged like bones picked clean. Windows reflected nothing. And yet, the streets weren't empty. Figures moved. At first I thought they were people, shuffling slowly, heads tilted back as if staring into the bleeding sky. But the closer I came, the more I realized something was off. Their skin was ashen, their eyes were pits, black and endless, and when they breathed, I could hear it, a rasp like wind through broken glass. One of them stopped, turned, its hollow gaze locked on me. Then another turned, and another. Soon the entire street was facing me, silent, waiting. A child's voice broke the stillness, high, fragile. "You don't belong to this year." I spun. A little girl stood in the middle of the road barefoot, her dress stained with soot. She wasn't like the others. Her eyes were human, too human, wide, trembling. "What year is this?" I asked, my voice shaking. She raised a trembling hand toward the sky, the year after the sun died. The crowd began to move then, not running, not even walking fast, just shuffling closer, step by step, their hollow eyes never leaving me. The air grew colder with every inch they closed. I grabbed the girl's hand. "We need to go." She didn't resist. She only whispered, "They can't touch me. They only want you." My stomach twisted, and then I heard it. Behind the voices of the crowd, beneath their rasping breaths, another sound, my own voice, echoing from their mouths in unison, dozens of them, hundreds, chanting my name. I dragged the girl toward the faint glow of the door. The figures followed, faster now, their bodies jerking unnaturally, jaws stretching open as my name spilled out of their throats. The red sky pulsed brighter, like a heartbeat, like it was alive and watching. I stumbled through the door, slamming it behind me. My chest heaved, ears ringing with the echo of my own voice shouted from 1,000 hollow mouths. When I turned, the girl's hand was still in mine, but she wasn't supposed to be here. She smiled faintly, eyes shining with tears. "If the sun can die, so can you." And then she vanished. Episode 8, The Locked Year. I thought I had seen the worst the door could show me, but nothing prepared me for the night it refused to open. The handle turned under my hand, but the door wouldn't budge. It groaned like old wood, shifting only an inch, just enough to leave a sliver of blackness, a razor-thin gap that breathed cold air into the room. And through that gap, I heard it, knuckles pounding, desperate. Then a voice, my voice. "Please, let me out." My blood turned to ice. I pressed my ear against the wood. It was me on the other side. I could hear the panic, the ragged breath, the way I choke when I cry. Every sound was mine. I whispered, "Who are you?" The voice whispered back, "I'm you, the one that got locked away." The gap widened slightly, and something pale pushed through. A hand, trembling, nails ragged, skin raw as if it had clawed at walls for years. I stumbled back, bile burning my throat. The pounding grew violent. My voice, his voice, rose into screams. "Don't leave me here again. Don't make me stay." The walls shook, dust raining down. The floor beneath me throbbed like a heartbeat. Then I realized he wasn't just pounding on the door. He was pounding on every wall around me. His voice came from the ceiling, the floorboards, the cracks in the plaster. My own words, overlapping, shouting, "You locked me in. You forgot me. You deserve to take my place." The sliver of the door split wider. A face pushed through. My face, gaunt, lips split, eyes burning with fever. But the expression was wrong. Too wide, too eager. "I can breathe your air again," it crooned. I lunged forward, shoving with all my strength, slamming the door shut on that twisted version of myself. The wood splintered under his scream, but it held. I pressed my back against it, shaking, listening to the pounding fade into sobs, then into silence. But just as I started to believe it was over, the whisper slid through the crack one last time. Soft, gentle, terrifying. "Next time, you'll be the one begging." The door sealed itself shut, the seam vanishing as though it had never been there. Only bare wall remained, the silence suffocating. I sat on the floor for hours, unable to move, knowing what it meant. There wasn't just one version of me waiting behind the door. There were many, locked away, forgotten, starving for my place. And sooner or later, one of them would get out. Episode 9, The Year She Waited. There are ghosts you expect to see in graveyards. And then there are ghosts that wait for you in places that should be alive. When I opened the door that night, I didn't smell blood or hear screams. Instead, I heard music, faint, tinny, carried on the breeze like a memory. A song I hadn't heard since I was 17, the song that played the last night she was alive. Her. I stepped into a quiet street washed in amber light. A small cafe stood at the corner, its windows glowing warm against the dark. Inside, shadows danced as people talked and laughed, and there, at the table near the window, sat her, Emily. My chest seized. She'd been gone for years, taken in a car crash that shattered me in ways I'd never confessed. Yet here she was, untouched by time. Her hair fell the same way, her hands curled around a coffee cup like they always did. But the strangest part was her eyes. She was staring at the door before I even walked in, staring at me. I stepped closer, heart in my throat. My hands shook as I pulled open the cafe door, the bell above it chiming like a funeral bell. She smiled. Not surprised, not confused, almost expectant. "You're late," she whispered. My knees nearly gave out. "Emily?" She nodded, gesturing for me to sit. Her voice was calm, steady. "I've been waiting for you." Every muscle in me screamed to run, but I couldn't. I sat, hands gripping the edge of the table like it was the only thing keeping me from drowning. How are you here?" Her smile faltered, sadness clouding her face. "Because this year isn't yours, it's mine. And in mine, you were supposed to die with me." The cafe around us blurred, laughter warping into echoes, the walls stretching like shadows in candlelight. The other patrons turned to face me, their eyes hollow, their mouths mouthing silent screams. Emily reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. They were ice cold. "You left me alone. Do you know what it's like to wait in the dark for someone who never comes?" Tears burned my eyes. "You think I wanted that? You think I chose to live without you?" Her grip tightened, nails digging into my skin. Her voice dropped, venomous and broken. "You shouldn't have lived. That night wasn't meant to spare you." The cafe dissolved around us. Suddenly I was back in that car, shattered glass, metal twisted like ribs. Emily sat beside me, blood staining her lips, eyes wide with the same plea I had tried to forget. "Stay with me," she whispered again. I screamed, yanking my hand free, stumbling backward. The car faded, the cafe gone, leaving only the door pulsing in the dark. Emily's voice followed me as I fled through it, soft as a promise, sharp as a knife. "I'll wait again, and next time you won't leave me." Episode 10, The Year That Never Ended. Some years feel longer than others, but the door showed me one that never ended at all. When I stepped through this time, I didn't land in a strange street or a ruined church. I landed in my own bedroom. The same posters, the same bed, the same alarm clock flashing 12:01. Relief washed over me. For a moment I thought maybe, just maybe, the door had glitched, returned me to the present. I collapsed onto the bed, laughing through shaky breaths. Then the alarm clock beeped, 12:01 again. I frowned. The numbers hadn't moved. Seconds passed, but the time never changed. The air was still, heavy, like the house itself was holding its breath. I stepped outside. The sky was gray, neither day nor night. Neighbors stood frozen on their porches, eyes blank, mouths half open as if caught mid-sentence. A car idled at the curb, its engine rumbling, but the driver's hands never moved on the wheel. I shouted, waved, begged for a reaction. Nothing. And then I saw it. Myself. Across the street. Another version of me staggered out of the fog. His face was pale, streaked with dirt and blood. His voice was raw when he screamed, "Don't die again!" Before I could move, a gunshot tore through the silence. The sound cracked the air open. The other me crumpled, blood spilling into the still street. The gun clattered to the pavement. I spun, heart hammering, and there, standing in the fog, was yet another me, holding the gun, smiling. The world lurched. Suddenly, I was on the ground. My chest burned. I looked down to see blood spreading across my shirt. The shooter me loomed over me, whispering, "This is where it always ends." My vision blurred. Darkness swallowed me whole. And then, I was back in my bedroom. Alarm clock flashing 12:01. The laughter that burst out of me wasn't relief this time. It was hysteria. I had died. I had felt it. Yet here I was again. At the same minute, in the same room. I tried to leave. I ran down the street, past the frozen neighbors, past the idling car. But no matter how far I went, I ended up back in front of my house, my prison. And every time the fog brought them, other versions of me. Some begging, some bleeding, some smiling with the gun in their hand. Each loop ended with my death. And each time I woke up again at 12:01. By the 10th time I stopped screaming. By the 20th I stopped fighting. Now I don't know how many times it's been. 100, 1,000. The blood never dries, but the clock never moves. And the worst part? I can feel the door still open somewhere inside this loop. Watching, waiting. But if I find it again, what if it only leads me to another endless year? Episode 11, The Year of Fire. The door waited longer this time. For days it stayed silent, as if it were giving me a choice. Walk away, or open it one more time. But choices are lies. I already knew I'd turn the handle. When I did, the world exploded in heat. Flames roared across the horizon, eating buildings alive. Smoke bled into the sky, black and endless, swallowing every star. Sirens wailed in the distance, too faint against the sound of wood cracking, glass shattering, people screaming. I stumbled into the middle of it, coughing, eyes burning. My town, my home, was gone. Every street I knew was ablaze, the air itself on fire. And through the smoke I saw them, silhouettes running, falling, burning. A woman clutched her child, stumbling past me, her skin blistered. "Why did you do this?" she screamed. Not at the fire, at me. My stomach turned cold. I didn't. But then I saw it. Myself. Standing at the edge of the square, a gas can in one hand, a lighter in the other. His face was my face, but harder, sharper. Eyes lit with a manic gleam. He struck the lighter, tossed it into a trail of fuel, and another building erupted in flames. The heat hit me like a punch. "No," I whispered. "That's not me." But the crowd didn't believe it. Faces turned toward me, hundreds of them, their mouths opening in unison, chanting my name like a curse. Their words mixed with the roar of fire. Murderer, arsonist, monster. I staggered back, desperate to find the door, but it wasn't behind me, not this time. The only way forward was through the inferno. My double stepped closer, gas can clanging empty at his feet. His voice was my own, warped and furious. "This is the year they remember you as the one who burned it all. This is the truth you buried." The fire raged higher, walls collapsing, sparks swirling like a storm of knives. People screamed my name as they burned. The heat seared my lungs. And then my double handed me the lighter, pressed it into my palm. His smile was thin, savage. "Take it. You've always wanted to watch it burn." The metal scorched my skin. I dropped it, heart racing, but when it hit the ground, flames leapt higher, clawing at the sky. My double laughed, and in the sound I heard something I hated: recognition. The world began to collapse, fire folding inward like paper curling in a flame. My skin blistered, the screams tore through me, until the door finally appeared in the blaze, glowing white-hot. I dove through it, collapsing onto the rotting floor of the abandoned house, smoke still in my throat, the smell of ash clinging to my skin. The door closed with a hiss, but the heat didn't fade, and the lighter was still in my hand. Episode 12, The Last Door. There comes a point when fear stops feeling like fear. It becomes something heavier, something like destiny. The door had shown me blood, betrayal, fire, and death that belonged to me in 1,000 different ways. But that night, when I found it waiting in the abandoned house, it wasn't humming or groaning or bleeding light. It was simply open. A thin crack revealed nothing but darkness, and yet I stepped through. The air inside was colder than any winter I'd ever known. My breath came out white, curling into a void that seemed endless. No streets, no houses, no years, just a black plain stretching forever. And then I saw them, every version of me. Hundreds, no, thousands of figures standing in the dark, their faces my own. Some were pale, some were scarred, some bled from wounds I'd never suffered. They stood in silence, watching, waiting. One stepped forward. His face was older, his eyes sunken but burning. His voice was mine, deeper, cracked with time. "You've opened all the wrong doors. This is the last one." My throat tightened. What is this place? "The year that never was," he said. "The year we were never supposed to see. The year where all of us meet." Behind him, the crowd shifted, whispers rising like wind through dead trees. I heard them all at once, my own voice, over and over. Some begging, some screaming, some laughing. "You've stolen lives that weren't yours," the older me continued. "Every door you opened was a trade. You survived where another version of you should have died. But nothing comes without balance." I shook my head, trembling. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't choose it." He stepped closer, and suddenly they all stepped closer. Every version, moving as one, a tidal wave of myself. Choice doesn't matter, only debt. The void began to glow then, faint red cracks spreading beneath my feet like veins in black stone. Heat surged upward. I realized where I was standing, on the seam between years, on the fabric of time itself. The older me raised a trembling hand, pointing at me. "One of us must remain here, locked in the year that doesn't exist. That's the price for opening the last door." The crowd's whispers turned into a chant. My name, rising, falling, echoing in endless tones. Some pleading for release, others demanding I take their place. The ground cracked open. I saw nothing beneath, only an abyss, endless and hungry. The older me reached out, gripping my wrist with iron strength. "Decide," he rasped. "Stay here and free us, or run, and damn us all to wait forever." For a heartbeat, I couldn't move. Their faces surrounded me, every mistake, every failure, every shadow I had tried to forget. And then, the door appeared behind me, glowing brighter than ever before. My way out, my last escape. I looked at it, I looked at them, and I ran. Episode 13, The Year of the Silent God. I thought episode 12 was the end, the last door, the abyss. The countless versions of me demanding a sacrifice. I told myself it had to be over, that I had escaped. But the truth is, the door never ends. It only waits. And this time it was waiting in a church. I don't remember walking there. One moment I was in my own bed, drenched in sweat, and the next, I was standing at the altar of a cathedral that hadn't existed in my town for centuries. Candles flickered in every corner, their flames too still, as if frozen in wax. The air was thick with incense, cloying, suffocating. At the far end, behind the altar, stood the door, not humming, not pulsing, silent. I should have been relieved, but silence can be louder than screams. I stepped forward, my footsteps echoing too long, too heavy, as if the cathedral was hollowed out by centuries of abandonment. My eyes wandered upward to the crucifix, but it wasn't Christ nailed there. It was me. My body hung limp, arms stretched wide, eyes gouged out. A trickle of ash fell from its lips like sand in an hourglass. I staggered back, bile rising in my throat. And that's when I heard it. The voice I had longed for, prayed for in countless nightmares. But it wasn't speaking. It wasn't singing. It was weeping. The sound came from everywhere. Walls, floor, ceiling. A chorus of angels sobbing into eternity. I fell to my knees, covering my ears, but the sound crawled inside me, shaking my bones. "Why are you crying?" I whispered. The answer came not in words, but in absence. The weeping stopped. The silence roared back. And in that silence, I felt it, the weight of something vast, divine, ancient, turning its gaze away from me. God had abandoned this year. I forced myself toward the door, each step heavier, as if the floor wanted to swallow me. My hand reached for the handle and froze. Because on the wood, carved deep with blood or something darker, were the words, "If God is silent, who answers when you pray?" The candles extinguished all at once. Darkness crushed me. And in that void, a voice finally spoke. Not my voice this time. Not Emily's. Not any version of me. It was deep, hollow, endless. "You have wandered too far. If you open this door, you will not find a year. You will find what comes after." The handle burned under my palm, searing into my skin. I wanted to let go. I couldn't. The choice was already made. I pulled. The silence shattered into screams. And whatever was on the other side wasn't waiting for me. It was coming through. Episode 14, The Year of No Return. Some doors close behind you. Others vanish. When the door appeared again, I knew something was different. It didn't hum or bleed light. It simply stood there in the middle of my room, wrong in its stillness. I told myself I wouldn't open it, but the truth? I already knew I would. The handle was cold as stone when I turned it. The door swung wide, and for the first time, I didn't hesitate. I stepped through. And the instant my foot touched the ground on the other side, I heard it. Click. The door sealed itself shut behind me. When I turned, the wall was smooth. No outline, no seam, no way back. My stomach dropped. This wasn't just another year. This was the trap. The air was heavy, gray. The sky pressed down like wet concrete. The streets were lined with buildings I almost recognized. Half my town, half something else. Their walls bent at strange angles, windows too tall, doors too narrow. The world felt unfinished, like a painting someone had abandoned halfway through, and it was empty. Completely. I shouted, my voice echoing too far, bouncing back like the walls themselves were mocking me. No answer, no movement, just silence stretching forever. Then I saw it, a figure in the distance, small, hunched, standing at the corner of the street. I ran, desperate for proof I wasn't alone. But when I drew closer, my knees almost buckled. It was me. Of course it was me. But this version wasn't strong or cruel or bleeding. He was broken, skin cracked, hair white, lips moving soundlessly as he scratched at the wall with bleeding fingers. "Hey!" I shouted. "What is this place? How do I get back?" He turned slowly. His eyes were hollow, pupils drowned in white, his mouth stretched into a grin that wasn't mine. And when he spoke, it was in a voice like stone grinding against stone. "There is no back." The world trembled. The buildings shifted, bending closer, the sky lowering as if it wanted to crush me flat. My other self shuffled forward, leaving streaks of blood on the wall. "You've stepped into the year of no return. This is where the doors lead when they're finished with you." My breath hitched. "Finished? With me?" He nodded, smile splitting wider, tearing his cheeks. "Every version of you who opened it ends here. We wait. Forever. In the year that eats itself." Behind him, I saw them. Dozens, no, hundreds of figures. All me. All broken. They crawled from the shadows, their mouths open in silent laughter. I ran. I don't know why. I knew there was nowhere to go. The streets curved into themselves, every turn spitting me back to the same spot. The same wall, the same broken version of me watching. The sky split, black veins tearing through gray. The world groaned like it was dying. And that's when I realized the truth. The door hadn't shown me this year. It had left me here, and it wasn't coming back. Episode 15, The Year After Death. There are years you can name. Years of blood, years of betrayal, years of silence. But the last door showed me a year no one was ever meant to see, because it begins after life ends. I don't remember opening it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe it opened for me. One moment I was clawing at the gray walls of the year of no return, lungs raw from screaming, and the next, I was standing in a place too quiet to be real. The air wasn't air. It was stillness, a void that pressed against my skin like glass. I tried to breathe, but each breath echoed inside me as though I were hollow. And then I saw the others. Not versions of me this time, not family, not strangers, everyone. The streets stretched forever, and both sides were lined with figures. People I had known, people I hadn't, people who had lived, died, forgotten, remembered. They stood in rows, staring, their eyes black voids, their mouths sewn shut with threads of light. I wanted to ask where I was, but the question was already answered in my bones. This wasn't a year of the living. This was the year after death. A shadow peeled itself from the rows and stepped forward. Not me, not anyone I'd known. Something larger, darker, built from the outlines of countless bodies. Its voice was a chorus of whispers, 1,000 mouths speaking at once. "You have walked through years that were not yours," it said. "Now you stand in the one that waits for everyone." I shook my head. "No, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not dead." The whispers laughed. The sound was like wings tearing in the dark. Every step through the door was a death. "You've died 100 times already. Did you think the world would let you back for free?" The ground split beneath me, revealing not fire, not shadow, but an endless procession of doors falling into the abyss. Each one flickered open, showing fragments of lives I had stolen. The child I saw, the friend who betrayed me, Emily waiting at the cafe. All those years collapsing into nothing. The shadow reached for me. Its hand was not a hand, but a veil, cold and infinite. "Your last choice is simple," it murmured. "Stay here and join the silence, or step through the final door and see what comes after even this." Behind me, one last door flickered into being, smaller than the others, fragile, trembling. I turned toward it. My heart knew what it meant. There was no going back, no waking in my bed, no returning to my town, no escaping into another version of myself. This was the end of the road. I pressed my hand to the handle. The shadow's voice followed, a whisper carved into eternity. "There are no years after death, only you." I opened the door, and everything I was scattered into the dark.
Epilogue, The Door That Waits. You think stories end when the last word is spoken. But some doors don't close that easily. The night after I opened the final door, I should have been gone. Erased. Scattered into the dark beyond death. Yet somehow, I'm still here. Or maybe you're here. Because the truth I never told is this: the door doesn't belong to me. It never did. It belongs to whoever looks for it. Whoever listens for it. Whoever can't stop imagining what waits on the other side. And if you're hearing this now, then you've already felt it. Haven't you? That shift in the corner of your eye. That breath against the back of your neck when the room is empty. That sound soft, steady, like wood stretching in the dark. The house that held it is gone. I know because I went back, what was left of me. Where the walls once rotted and the floorboards once groaned. There's nothing but earth now. But the door doesn't need the house. It only needs you. Sometimes it appears in mirrors. Just for a second. Standing where no reflection should be. Sometimes it hums behind closet doors. Or in the silence between your heartbeats when you wake at 3 a.m. And sometimes, when you swear you've locked every window, you'll feel the air grow colder. As if another room is waiting just beyond your own. That's when you'll hear it. A knock. Not loud. Not urgent. Just patient. I used to think I was chosen. Cursed. Haunted. But now I know better. The door doesn't choose. It only waits. And it always finds someone willing to open it. Someone curious. Someone like you. And when you do, because you'll step into a year that doesn't belong to you. You'll see versions of yourself that should never exist. You'll hear voices you thought were gone forever. You'll taste the iron of blood, the smoke of fire, the silence of God. And the question will come. The same one that ruined me, which year is really yours? But by then, it won't matter. Because once you've touched the handle, the door will never leave. So listen carefully tonight. If your walls creak when they shouldn't. If your mirror feels too deep. If your breath fogs in a room that isn't cold, don't look away. Because the door has already found you. And it's waiting.